I'm joined in studio by property expert David Reeby. He predicts that property prices in the Cape Town CBD are set to increase from between 5 to 10% year on year, starting this year, David.
Would say so.
Now, this obviously means that there's something very exciting happening in the Cape Town property market. What are we experiencing?
Well, I think what we're seeing now is the recovery from the last crash, probably 2007, 2008. The market's been fairly down and steady up until probably 12 to 18 months ago. From that point, we've seen steady growth. We've seen developers come back into the market. We've seen more plans being approved, more new blocks being developed, more older blocks being bought, refurbished, sectional title plans open, things. There just seems to be a lot more activity. From our side, we manage a lot of sectional title properties, and we've seen just the volume of levy clearance certificates that we have to issue on a monthly basis increase quite substantially. And that's led to it becoming a bit more of a seller's market. And we feel like that's going to continue for the foreseeable future. There's no signs of a bubble or anything like that at the moment. So there's no reason why it shouldn't continue growing.
Now, I have to ask you, Cape Town is really in high demand and has a reputation for having the more expensive property prices. And we know that Johannesburg is supposed to be the economic hub of Africa. We know that, as a general rule, people in Johannesburg generally earn more. Why is it that we're paying so much more for our property here in the Western Cape?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and I think it really comes down to almost broader economic principles of supply and demand. When you look at Johannesburg, there's a massive sprawl of land that when you're putting up a new development, you would be buying a piece of land and costing it out at a cost per opportunity, per sectional title unit that you would be developing. You can go a little bit further out and pay very low amounts for those opportunities. In Cape Town, we have a mountain and a sea and the city in between, and a thin corridor of land that stretches outside from the city bowl. Because of that, opportunity cost of land is very high. That's probably the main driver of the cost of property in Cape Town. It's very much a generalization, but I would say that is a driver. Over and above that is the desirability of the luxury market. So it's very easy to look at averages, and you look at the statistics of the average, you kind of lose all the information in between. When you start putting in the prices of the Clifton properties and Camps Bay properties and put them in as an average, it starts bringing all the averages up. It doesn't mean that all the prices have gone up. It's just there's a few outliers that will impact it. But I think it's just a supply-demand thing. We haven't kept up with the supply of properties once the market crashed in 2007, 2008. Properties dried up, and now we're seeing the demand for these properties pushing prices up.
Now, David, you believe that this is the right time to purchase property in Cape Town. Why is that?
I think that we are in the right portion of a property cycle to be looking to make an investment into property. If you are buying property for the long term, chances are you're always going to make a decent investment. I'm not saying you shouldn't look to find the cheapest property in the best area or something that you can improve, or an up-and-coming suburb. Those are definitely things you should be looking at. But if you purchase property with a long-term view, you should come out ahead. You should make more than inflation. It should grow. And where we are now, with an increasing property market, as we can see from the prices over the last year, statistics will show that. And then you consider that nothing fundamentally has changed to alter that situation. We aren't in a property bubble. Interest rates are fairly static. Sure, we don't have great economic growth, but it's not substantially worse than what it was a year ago. And we're seeing people come into the market. Like I said, new developers are putting up properties. And to enter into these transactions, you need to take a 2 to 3 year view. By the time you buy land, put plans into council, get development finance, start building it, start selling it. By the time it comes to completion and transfer, you've made a 2 to 3 year investment. A A lot of these people are risking a lot of money, and I don't think they would do so if the conditions weren't right.
Now we know that there is this upswing that we're experiencing. So let's talk to property owners who are using their properties as an investment. If you have a sectional title and it's being rented, or even a house that's up for rent, is now the right time to increase your tenant's rent? Are you allowed to do that? What are the principles you need to be looking at?
Well, I mean, when you normally on a residential let, you would let it out for a period of 1 year. Sometimes you'll give an option to renew, and you may or may not build in a rate of increase in your lease. So once your lease is up, you are fully entitled to increase your rent by any percentage point that you like. Inevitably, people will stay on, the people that do rent for a number of years in the same property, and normally get into a routine of, say, a 5 or 8% increase. At any point in time when that lease needs to be renewed, there is a negotiation that takes place, and you need to, as a tenant and the landlord, you evaluate where your property is in terms of the marketplace. If you keep increasing somebody by 8% every year as a landlord, chances are you are going to overshoot the mark, and a tenant is going to say, but hold on, paying 15,000 Rand for my rental, but now there's new properties coming on the market that are 14,000. I want to not increase this year. Are you happy with that? A landlord is fully entitled to say, I really want that increase, so let's not renew the lease, and he'll go to the market to do so. My only advice to property owners is to be very careful about trying to increase too much, because once you do the numbers and you work out your annual rental, if you try and increase your rental too high and your rental sits empty for 1 month, then you would have been far better off with a lower increase of 4 or 5%. And had it let out for 12 months, then getting your higher rental and having 1 month or 11 out of the 12 let. So it's time to push and reevaluate to make sure that you're priced correctly, but don't push too hard, because it won't be financially in your interest to do so.
David, I feel like you've given us so much to think about today. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Thanks.